Hello, I am back with some more live game development here on Twitch. Not entirely sure what all I'm going to be working on today. I might block in the actual game loop of there being some obstacles that can give you damage, and you can die and respawn and have an end of a level, just so I can have a sort of game loop to play around with. I might also convert the character over to a state machine. So yeah, that's my rough idea for today. I'm not exactly sure. Yeah, let me say hi real quick. Hello! Welcome back to my stream. I am Grizzhoot the Owlbear, and I am a video game designer and programmer working on this silly little frog game that doesn't have a name yet. I'd love to hear any suggestions once I'm a little bit further along. But I plan on streaming the entire process here on Twitch and posting VODs onto YouTube, so you can follow along even if you're not following along live. Yeah, this has been really fun so far. This is my 4th stream this week. I plan on streaming pretty much every weekday in the afternoon until this game is done. I might take a few days off here and there. But yeah, hello, welcome. Let's jump into Unity and start working on this game. All right. Let's see. So, I want to add some health and damage stuff. So, I think the first thing I need to do is add something that can damage the player. So, I think I'm just going to make some spikes. I'll do that in Blender. So, I will make a new... I'm going to import my character just as a reference. Frog guy. Cool. So I'm going to add some spikes that he can bump into that will hurt him. I know, I just made him and now I want to hurt him. But that is how video games are, you know? Should bring his eyes with him, shouldn't I? I'm just gonna delete the light in the camera, I don't need that. I'm gonna rename this to reference. And I'm going to add another filter that just makes it so we can't select them, so we don't accidentally select them when we go to export. And then make a new collection. Alright, so I'm gonna add a cone. That's roughly a spike, you know. It doesn't need to be that high res. Could probably get away with 16. Its current height is at the 2, so we're gonna move it up a 1 so it's even with the ground, and we'll reduce the radius. And it's still like very tall. It doesn't need to be nearly that tall, so I'll shrink it down. Cool, I think that is good to start off with. I'm gonna go ahead and reset the origin. I'll set it to shade smooth and auto smooth. So it still has the hard edge on the bottom, but the actual spiky part looks smooth and sharp. And then I'm gonna add an array modifier. I'll keep it at 4. Hold on. Trying to think of the best way to do this because I want it to. Yeah, I'll make it feel like a 2-unit square, a 2x2. I'm gonna have 2, and you'll see why I'm doing that in a second. And I'll do this one on the Y. So we've got like a square of spikes. And the origin is in the center of one of the corners. The thing I like about doing, like using a modifier to do this, is I can edit the original and all of the other ones follow the changes that I make. So I can, you know, give it like a little border like that. Actually, I'm just gonna dissolve that edge. And I'll just move that down. So I want that to be like a little bit below 0, so it's like kind of under the ground plane. Cool. Actually, I'm gonna just scale that to 0 so it's flat. Cool. So now I have some spikes. They're pretty basic, but that'll work for now. I will name this spikes. And I'm gonna make some materials for it. Actually, I'm going to bevel that so it gives me an extra edge that I can like slide up, so I can make the tip a different color than the rest of it. Cool. So gonna select some edge loop or some face loops, maybe if it will let me. Alright, so gonna make a dark metal. Assign it. Medium metal. Which will be like a gray. And then we'll make the tip bright metal. It looks a little silly, but you know, it is what it is. this isn't, I mean, this is just for prototyping anyway. I just want to have something that I can bump into that does damage. So I will select that. I'll export it as an FBX into my models folder, call it spikes. I only want selected objects and I only want the mesh. Cool. Now I have spikes that I can drag in. And I can extract the materials so I can make them look the way that I want. So obviously I want them to look metallic. So bump the metallic up on all of these, and the smoothness doesn't need to be all the way up, but alright, that'll look sufficiently dangerous, right? Alright, so now we need a script that can detect when the player enters and deal damage. So the first thing I want to do is I want to make a health script. Just gonna call it health. Open up that health script. We don't need starter update. Go ahead and delete those. So obviously we need to start with a value for the health amount. So before we do that, we're actually going to define what the maximum health can be. I'm just going to initialize it as 3, and we can change that later. And then we want to have current health as well. And then we'll want a public way to read the max and the current health. So I'll just do some getters. And this is going to be max with a capital M because it's public and it's a getter. And we're going to read the max health. And we're going to do the same thing for current health. And then we are gonna have a start function actually. That's gonna be public void start. And this function is just going to set current health equal to max health. So when we start the game, we will have 3 health. And then I'm gonna have a function that is public called modify health. And it will take an int parameter for the amount, and then we will do current health plus equals amount. So if amount is positive, it will increase their current health by that amount. If it's negative, it will decrease. But then we also want to check if current health is greater than max health. We're just going to set it equal to max health, so you can't go above the maximum. And then we're also going to check to see if current health is less than 0, because we want to be able to do something if we hit 0. So we're going to have a unity event. That will fire when we hit 0. So public unity event on health reached 0. So we can do something outside of the script when the health reaches 0. And then we will just invoke that when health reaches 0. And then we will also just set it equal to 0. So it's not ever going to be negative. That should work for our health script. Let that compile. I'm gonna do a couple quick things really fast just to make sure I don't lose progress if the scene gets messed up or something. I'm going to make our free look camera a prefab. I'm also going to make the player character prefab, and then I'm gonna make another prefab that I'm gonna zero out and just call it player character rig, and that will include the player character and the free look camera, and I'm gonna make that into a new prefab. And I dragged the wrong thing. This is a new feature that they recently added in Unity. If you have a prefab, you can change the reference to it here. That was a feature that didn't exist before, so if you needed to like replace a prefab with something else, it was kind of a pain to do, but now you just assign it there. What I really wanted to do was I wanted the character rig to be a prefab. So you can see we have just a parent object, we have the character, and we have the camera rig. So if I ever want to, make a new scene, I can just drag that in, and everything should just work. I did have a typo in rig, so fix that really fast. There we go. Cool. And I also like, this is a personal preference thing, but I like having the character at the very top. Alright, so we have our spikes model. I'm gonna make an empty game object and parent the spikes model to that. And so gonna name it spike hazard, just because it's not just the spikes, it's gonna have damage properties and stuff. So I'm going to make another script, call it damage trigger. And then the damage trigger is going to have an on trigger enter function. And we will check to see if the other has a health script. We'll cache that there. If health isn't null, we will modify the current health. And we need a value, so we're going to serialize that on the object with serialize field. And we'll just set it to 1 for now. So we will call the modify health, and we will do minus damage amount. So we want it to subtract from the max health, or the current health, sorry. So we'll add that script. Obviously, this isn't going to do anything yet because the it's not going to do anything because there is no trigger on this. We're going to add a rigid body, and it's going to be kinematic and not use gravity. And then we will, as a child here, we'll add an empty and call it trigger. Actually, this is one kind of annoying thing in Unity is setting up colliders correctly. So if I just add a box collider to the mesh, it should encapsulate the geometry that I made. Yeah, so it's a little hard to see, so I'm going to add my collider visualizer, but I'm going to actually move it onto an empty for the trigger. Unity lets you drag components from one object to another, or you can copy and paste it as new, and then I'll just remove it from here. So I don't want it actually on the model, I want it just like separate. There's reasons to do it that way, but I'll add my collider visualizer. Give it a second, because sometimes it doesn't do it right away. I'm gonna assign my collider. There we go. So now I have a red volume surrounding these spikes. And if I select my character, I never actually gave my character a health script. So I'll give him health. It has 3, it's currently set to 0, but when I run it, it should run that start function and set current health to 3. And so now if I walk into that spike, it should subtract 1 from my health. So that worked as expected. And we can't go below 0. So that's working. But now we want to like actually trigger something when health reaches 0. So there's a few things we want to do. The first thing we want to do is we want to turn off the player input. We're just going to set it's enabled to false. So when you die, you can't keep moving. wasn't working. Why isn't that working? So right now it's set to only do it if it's less than 0. If we do less than or equal to 0, that should work. Oh wait, never mind. I think I had it right the first time, but I realized that for some reason, I don't know if this is a new thing, but Unity events, they're set to off by default, but it should be runtime. I don't know what's up with that. Okay, cool. Yeah, that worked. So, we can also, in our game manager, we can add a game over function. Currently doesn't do anything, but we'll set set this up so in addition to disabling the player's input, we will also tell the game manager to run game over. And we can add some UI. We'll add a game over screen. So we'll add an image, and the image is going to be blank by default, which is fine because we're going to make it take up the whole screen. I'm going to make it black. And we're going to add, well, we'll name it game over screen. And we'll add some text to it. And it'll say game over. I'll make it all caps. And we'll make it very big. I'm gonna center it. Cool. I'm also gonna make it bold. Just because, for emphasis, you know. And I'm gonna move it up a little bit because we're gonna put a retry button at the bottom. Alright, so we are gonna make the game over screen disabled by default. And we're gonna give our game manager the ability to turn that on. So the game manager needs a reference to it. We're just gonna reference the game object that the game over screen has. And then in that game over function, we're just gonna say game over screen dot set active true. That will turn on. Thanks, Rody. Thanks for hanging out. I'm having fun making this silly little game. So, Game Manager needs a reference to the Game Over screen, which is disabled. Cool. So that's working. But now we need a way to restart the game when you die. We also should have like a sound effect that plays when you get hurt. So gonna open up our trusty BFXR, and we're just gonna hit this hit hurt button a few times to get some sound effects. Find one we like. No. That works. We'll just name it player hurt. And we will so we already have a play one shot on the game manager, so we'll just use that for now. So the player will add a little oh, so we should add a an event for if you take damage that's separate from if you reach 0, so that's easy enough to do. I'll just call it on damaged, and we'll just do that. I'll just say if amount is less than 0, so only if it's negative, then we'll invoke on damage. So we will also grab a game manager, and we will say game manager dot play one shot. And we can pick actually oh, I saved the BFXR file, not the actual audio clip. I just want to export the wave. Oh, is it mad because I didn't actually give it an extension? BFXR is silly sometimes. There we go. Not a great sound, but it'll work for what we need. That didn't work at all, which is weird. So what's wrong with this? Amount is less than 0. It should. Again, I don't know why it defaults to off. This is gonna be the bane of my existence. Oh, the sound didn't work. First it didn't work because I saved the file wrong, and this time it didn't work because this Unity event that I was firing, it was set to off instead of runtime, which just means it was never actually happening, and I don't know why. I don't know why that's the default. It didn't used to be that way. There we go. Okay, so now I have another problem, which is the health is currently 0, but we didn't actually die. Now we died. So let's debug that real fast. So yeah, I think I was right. This does need to be less than or equal to 0, because if we're subtracting 1 and we're at 1 and we subtract 1, we're going to be 0, but we're not going to be below 0, so this was not actually going to fire. So this should work now. You should die when you hit 0 and not when you go below 0. The most common math errors in programming are off by 1 errors. There we go. So now we need a way to restart the level when you die. So we can add a button to our game over screen. So I'm going to add a UI button with Text Mesh Pro. And we'll make the button say restart. And it's very small right now, so let's make it bigger. So we'll make it nice and wide and nice and tall. The text needs to be bigger. Make the text bold. And we'll move it down because it's Alright, so the buttons have an on-click event built in, so we will use them to reference the game manager, and in the game manager script we need to add a function that is restart. So go into game manager, public void restart. And so what restart needs to do, sorry, my dog is barking. Buddy, calm down. It's okay. Come here. Good boy. It's okay. So we need to take the current level and we need to reload it. So in order to do that, we'll do using Unity engine dot scene management. And in that restart function, we'll call scene manager dot load scene, and we'll just load the currently loaded scene. So scene manager, we can also get let's see. Actually, I'm gonna look at the documentation because it's been a second since I've done this. And we have get active scene. That's what we want, I think. And we'll get the build index of that scene, because load scene expects either the string name of yeah, don't step on those spikes, Froggy. So yeah, load scene, it'll either take the text name of the scene that you want to load or the build index, which is the better way of doing it because it's less error prone. But in order to do that, we need to add the scene to the build. So we go to build settings, and it's we have the sample scene, but I duplicated the sample scene and made a platformer testing scene. So we're gonna add that one, and we can remove the sample scene because we're not using it. So I'll go ahead and save. So in this, in our restart buttons on click, we need to call our game manager's restart function. So I'll go ahead and hide our game over screen. I'll drop back into 3D view. Yeah, thanks for hanging out while I'm working on this. It's fun to have people hang out and not just be sitting in my office by myself. Cool. So we have our game over screen, and we hit restart and we load back into the scene. So that's the beginning of our game loop. So we will need some way to indicate the player's health on screen, so you don't just, you know, oh yeah, I'm happy to talk through everything. It gives me a way to like think about the problems in a different way. There's this concept in programming that they call rubber ducking, where you basically explain your code line by line to a rubber ducky. So it just helps you think about the problem in a different way because you're like physically explaining everything as you do it. But since I'm just streaming on Twitch, I'm just explaining it to you guys as to y'all as I work, and I don't need a rubber duck. So, I need a way to trigger this restart button with my controller, which it currently isn't working. It expects a mouse by default. So there's a couple ways I can do that, I think. Let's see, what's the easiest way to do that? I think we want to, when the game over screen becomes enabled, we want to set the button as the selection on the UI system has this event system that basically tracks the navigation of your UI. So I can, I think, put this restart button as the first selected. And it might work. So it's using default input actions, UI, and submit, which is just any button, I guess. So I guess that will work. It should work. Okay, that worked. Since it's the only option, the UI system has like this system for like highlighting and showing you which button you have selected, but since we only have the one, I think just hitting any button's fine. But we'll have to go back and change that if we decide we want to have like a quit or a like save and continue or something like that. But for now that works. So let's come up with a way to show health on screen. So we could, there's a few ways of doing that. I'm gonna make some folders in here for gonna make a sprites folder, and in there I'm gonna have a UI folder. So we could do a health bar. I think a health bar is the easiest way of displaying the health. It's not really how like Mario or Zelda do it, but it certainly is the easiest. So I'm gonna go ahead and just make it a health bar for now. We can change it if we decide we want it to be something else. So I'm gonna go to the UI. I'm gonna add a panel, I think, and it takes up the whole screen. It's fine. So obviously we don't want it to take up the whole screen. We'll anchor it in the top left, and it'll go just below the score. Or I'll move the score. I'll keep the health bar. That's the anchor. Alright, I'm just gonna scooch the score over a little bit. And we'll make our health bar red because that's the color health bars are. I don't make the rules. And we'll set this to filled I don't know why it filled defaults to radial, but we want it to be horizontal, left or right. But because it's using a sliced graphic, I need to do it slightly differently. So I think if I duplicate that and set that one to be filled. And I think if I add a mask to one of these, let's see, how does this work? Alright, so that mostly works. Looks a little funky because it's stretched weirdly. If I just set it to none, I think let me think. Alright, so we have a health bar. It doesn't look great, but it'll work for what we need. So I'll just call this health bar. And this will just be health bar fill. So we have this fill amount. It's a number between 0 and 1. So in our health script, we can have an event that updates anytime the health changes, and then we can set this fill to be a fraction that is the current health divided by the max health. So we'll go ahead and do that. We'll just reference the health bar directly. So we'll be using Unity Engine.ui. We'll have a reference to an image called health bar. And anytime we modify the health, we're going to say health bar dot fill amount equals current divided by max. Actually, we'll do this at the very end. And I know this probably isn't going to work exactly correct. For a few reasons. Actually, I'm going to fix them now. The first reason is that we don't want every single object in the game that could have health to need a health bar. So we're going to make a function in here that's just called update health bar. And we will paste that logic in there. And we're just going to say update health bar here and here as well. Don't forget your semicolons. So before we do anything in this function, I'm going to null check the health bar. So we shouldn't be trying to draw a change in a health bar if there is no health bar. The other problem is that current health and max health are both float or ints, and health or fill amount expects a float. So we need to cast both these as floats. So give me 1 second. So we just need to say, we're just going to cast both of these as floats before we divide them. So the result is a float. Because otherwise when we divide, I think it's always going to be 0 because it's less than 1. Or it might round weird, we don't know. Just gonna grab that health bar. Cool, we have a working health bar. Awesome. So now we have, the start of a game. It's not very fun yet. Some of the fun's gonna come in when we, when we add animation, and that will help the game feel to be better. So right now, it's very basic. Animation will help. There's not a lot of appeal right now, obviously, because our character is just a block out, and we don't have like art for the environment. The character currently doesn't have a goal aside from just collecting these coins, which isn't very fun. There's no challenge, there's no risk and reward. And there's no win condition either, so we want to have some victory condition. Maybe it's collecting all the gemeralds, maybe it's getting to a flagpole at the end. I think collecting all the gemeralds and then like bringing them to a specific location might be fun. But we'll see. And then we want to also add things that the player can interact with that aren't hazards. So things like a bounce pad would be neat, or maybe having water that you could swim on. All sorts of stuff. And then we also need to think about the actions that the character can do, the verbs. So like right now, his only verbs are move and jump and die and collect. And those inherently are okay, but we could do better. But I'm not gonna get too deep into that yet, because I think we need to refactor the character into a state machine so we can better control the behavior of the character when we're adding new functionality, like maybe he should be able to crouch, or maybe he should be able to double jump or backflip. Doing that right now in our current movement script would just get really messy. So if I refactor it into discrete states, each state can have a transition to another state, and all the logic for that state will be self-contained. So adding new functionality will be a lot easier and more manageable. So I'm going to take a short break because I think we made some good progress, and I will be back shortly. Alright, I am back. I'm gonna pop on cam to say hi real quick. Hello, I am back. Sorry, I had to take a quick little bio break and let my dog out and stuff. For those of you just now joining, I'm Grizzhoot. I'm an owl bear. I make video games. I am documenting this entire process of making this little game about a frog. To document the whole process, I'm live streaming it on Twitch and posting VODs to YouTube, so you can follow along with the entire process, start to finish, of programming a game, and I'm going to be releasing it online for free when I'm done. I have no idea what this game's going to be called, but right now it is a game about a frog who collects coins and steps on spikes and dies. So yeah, have fun. Let's get back into it. So, we just finished adding our health and game over and stuff. So, what should we do next? We should have some kind of win condition. We have gemeralds that you can collect. So I think the win condition will be like get all the gemeralds and bring them somewhere. And maybe that will summon, maybe bringing the gemeralds will summon a boss or something that you have to fight. So, sorry, I'm drinking some generic sport drink. It's delicious, it's orange flavored. Alright, so, let's see. Oh, some other things we could add is like, you know, we've got this little ramp here. We could put some spikes under the ramp. I need to make the spike hazard into a prefab. Cool. Now I can just drag spike hazards into the scene. Maybe? Yeah, there we go. So put some spikes down here. We'll duplicate this ramp. Rotate it 180. We'll just put like a coin floating above the spikes that you can jump and get. And if you fall, you take damage. See, that's already a little bit more fun because there's some risk involved. If all the coins are just out in the open, like, it's too easy. Yo, final phase, how's it going? I am back with, this is my, yeah, the spikes work. This is my 4th day in a row of streaming game dev. I streamed my my first day this week. I had to stream it on YouTube because Twitch was broken on Tuesday. But I'm putting all the VODs on my YouTube if you missed any and you want to go back and watch. That would be greatly appreciated. I'm trying to build trying to build a bit of an audience both here on Twitch and also on YouTube. So yeah, I got today we got spikes and a health bar and a game over screen working, and we're working on having some sort of win condition so we have a full game loop. And then I think next week I'm gonna work on actually designing the character instead of just having him be a block out, and maybe rigging him up and adding some animations. But before we add the animations, I need to make it I want to make the character controller use a state machine so it's more manageable. And I'll talk more about that when I get to it. But I'm happy with how much progress we've made. Like, this is like day 4 and I've only been streaming like a couple hours a day. I made tons of progress, so yes, state machines cannot be understated. I've been replaying Mario 64 to get some inspiration for this. So like right now all the movement is in one script, but so the current states that we would have if we had transferred this over to a state machine are like, we have moving, we have jump, and we have falling. And that's pretty manageable to start off with, but I want to add like crouching, crouch walking, back flipping, side jumping, diving, and I want to add some power-ups and enemies and stuff. But yeah, Mario 64 has great movement. I'm probably gonna more closely reference the movement in Odyssey, because yeah, the camera in 64 is rough. Like, it was great for the time. Like, nothing had anything like that back in the day, but like, this Cinemachine camera was so easy to get up and running, and it feels really good to move around. And it will feel even better with animation. So let's see. So I made these gemeralds, these emerald gems. I like to call them gemeralds because it's silly and it gives me a little bit of dopamine just saying. Yeah, no, Mario 64 swimming is awful. I hate it. I hate every water level of Mario 64. Just because the swimming is so slow and awkward, and like, this dude's a frog. He can swim. So yeah, let's see. I made 4 different kinds of gemeralds that you can get. Functionally, right now they're the same as coins, but they're worth more. But that shouldn't be that hard to change. I think I can, ew, gross. I don't know why Chris likes the swimming in Mario 64. It's nasty. I mean, again, it's fine for the time, because not a lot of games had swimming in the games that did. It was jank in all of them. Like, if you look back on it. I feel like the Zora swimming from yeah, personal preference. The Zora swimming in Majora's Mask for me is like the standard for N64 swimming. And yeah, modern cameras and controls are so much better. I need to find my copy of Mario Odyssey. I put the cartridge in I put the cartridge for Odyssey in the case of Pokemon Scarlet when I got it, and I don't know where the case ended up. I really hope it didn't fall into the trash can, because that is entirely possible. I just realized that, like, having these different colored gemeralds and this like checkerboard is extremely giving Sonic vibes. Not entirely intentional, but you love to see it. Yes, Chaos Gemeralds. So I think the Gemeralds at least need to have a different sound effect when you get them. And yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, I think just having them be for score is fine. I might have them kind of like the star coins in Super Mario 3D World, where like they're extra hidden challenges for you. That'll get you a star if you get them all or whatever. But they're not required. I like having the option of like, here's the easy way to get through the level as fast as possible, but then if you want the extra challenge, if you collect all of these. Yeah, the green stars, that's what I meant. Yeah, I've just been playing a lot of Mario stuff and watching a lot of Mario stuff. I've been watching Playframe over the holiday break. They played through Super Mario World, and they've also been playing Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. I haven't actually played Thousand Year Door, but it's been fun to watch. I'm not a huge fan of the combat in the Paper Mario games because JRPG combat is so slow. But I do like in Thousand Year Door that you have the ways to like make the combat more interactive by, you know, bouncing, or the way the hammer works is cool. But the standard, just like pick a move and your character does that move and it plays an animation, and then the enemy does a move and it plays an animation, to me it's really boring. The only way that I'm able to play Pokemon games nowadays is if I have something on in the background while I'm playing. Yeah, fair. I am excited for the Mario movie. I hope it's good. I did see a rumor that Illumination might be working on a Zelda movie next, which it could be horrible or it could be amazing. Alright. Let's add like a... Let's add a goal for this. So I'm gonna go ahead and save this. Actually, I'm gonna make a new folder in my horrifying blunder projects folder and move all of these things for this game into that. So we'll grab, let's see, this one just sorted by date. We'll grab these three. Move them into that folder slowly. Cool. Yeah, the Zelda movie certainly can be worse than the CDI games. That is for sure. Alright. While I'm copying Mario, I'm just gonna make a flagpole. We can make the game more unique once we get more of the mechanics. our frog guy. We'll move him to a reference collection. Cool. Flagpole. Yeah, tadpole. That's good. That's good. All right. We'll start with a cylinder. That cylinder is too detailed. I don't know. I need to go through in Blender and like change the defaults of a bunch of stuff because I never need 32. Like this is fine with 8 probably. And we'll make the radius smaller. I'll make it, let's say 4, and we'll move it up to, there we go. It needs to be taller than that. 5 or 6? I think 6 is good. Give it a little base. Yeah, Blender, it's I love and hate it because just learning the hotkeys just takes forever, but just being able to like block in whatever I want is great. Put a little ball at the top of the flagpole. Neat. I'll name this flagpole. Shade smooth and turn on, auto smoothing in the normals so it looks good. I'll set it to like 50. Oh yeah, there's some new hotkeys. What? Interesting. Like, what about the scroll wheel? Did they? It seems to work the same for me. I'm in 2022. I can't discern the difference, but I also haven't been using Unity daily for a while. Just getting back into it after a much needed break. Oh, interesting. Alright, let's make a flag. Add a plane. We'll make it like, yeah, we'll keep it 2 for now. Oh yeah, you have to use mouse and keyboard now. There's probably a way to change it, but yeah, it does suck when they change the way the things work. I don't know if you were here earlier, but I've been using Unity events for a lot of stuff, and for whatever reason, they changed the default to off. So none of your None of your Unity events work unless you set it to runtime only, at least in this version of Unity. I might need to change versions because it's driving me insane. Because I keep adding functionality and then I go to test it and it doesn't do anything. And I'm like, what's going on? Why isn't this working? And it's because it's set to off. And I cannot imagine why they changed that. Alright. I accidentally turned snapping on. I'm gonna add a bunch of loop cuts to this flag because I want to do a shader that like waves the flag. I think that'd be fun. But I do want the origin of the flag to make sense. So now if I scale the flag, it scales there. So I can like scale it up and move it up. Cool. And now I'm just going to set up some materials for the flagpole. I'll just name this flag. And I'll just give these some colors so I can tell which one is which. Did I not actually assign that one to anything? That one's the gold. Ugly, but it serves its purpose. So export to our models folder, flagpole. And I I forgot to do all the things I needed to do to export that correctly. I want only selected objects, I only want the meshes, I want that. There we go. And now, there we go. Cool. I need to set the flag material to be two-sided because right now you can only see it from one side. And that's funny. Also, I think the flagpole needs to be bigger. But I'm just gonna globally scale that up in Blender. I'm just gonna double it. Try that again. There we go. Let's grab some of our previously created materials. We'll throw the gold one on the top. We'll do our medium metal for the pole. We'll throw the wood on there. And we'll make a new material for the flag. And we need to set it to both front and back. There we go. Now we can actually see it. Cool, cool. Whee. All right. So we need some sort of trigger there. We can do some stuff with when we detect the player. So we'll make a new script. We'll call it level end trigger. I'm going to use our trusty on trigger enter. And we're going to look for a player controller, or a player character, sorry. We'll store that. Then we'll say if player is not null, we'll do something. So we'll add a Unity event. call it player reached end. And then here we will trigger our player reach end. We'll add the level end trigger. In order for it to detect the player, it needs a rigid body, but we do not want gravity and we want it to be kinematic, so we can detect the player. And we also need an actual thing, like a trigger volume, to detect. We'll just use a box collider. We'll make sure it's set to trigger, and we'll edit the bounds of it to go all the way up to the top. And I'm gonna add my collider visualizer just so I can see it better. Alright, so there's a few things we want to do when we reach the flagpole. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to disable the input on the player, so you can't move once you hit the trigger. And then we will also trigger an animation, so I'm going to make an animation on the flagpole. So first I'm going to add an animation component, and then we'll add a new animation clip, and we'll make well, we'll basically give it like an idle animation state, where we want the flag to be scaled down so it's super small. And we'll also put it down at the bottom. And then we're going to add another we'll add a raise animation. So we will copy these keyframes, and we'll add them in here. And then we'll go ahead and first we will scale it, add a scale keyframe, and we'll just set it to 1. them out. And then it'll move up. Cool. And now I need to go in to both of these animations. I'll set flagpole to loop, and I'll set this one, the flagpole raised to clamp, so once it gets to the end, it'll just stay on that last frame. And we want to make sure both are there. So in addition to disabling the input, we can grab the animation. We'll, let's see. We'll set the clip to flagpole raise. Now let's see if that works. So it did correctly disable our input, but it didn't play the animation. So why is that? Let's look. Let's try it again, but we'll do it with the flagpole selected so we can see what's going on in the inspector. Alright, that looks correct. So it looks like I just didn't have a clip assigned. And then if I do that, it set it to the right clip, but it didn't play it. Why is that? Let's look. So, for whatever reason, it's not letting me trigger the actual play function, unless I'm missing something here. But we can just crossfade it with a 0, or let's just put like 0.1. No, that's not what I want. Set expects a string name for the animation. I don't know why it's not giving me access to all of the functions. In this Unity event. There should be one that's just play. mean, I could just do it through the level end script, but I have these Unity events. I thought I'd just use them. Oh well. So I'm just gonna set it up so the script will handle it. So that should do what we were trying to do through the Unity event. I don't know why it wasn't working. Unity events seem to be funky today. Not sure what's up with that. Oh yeah, I didn't actually reference those animation things. That's easy enough to fix. Alright, that should do what we want. Yeah, there we go. It worked. So there's a few other things we probably want to do once that flag reaches the top. We probably want to have another, like, similar to the game over screen, but like a you win screen with a button to restart. So we'll go ahead and make that. I am going to make the level end into a prefab. I also, this might be a little silly, but I think I'm going to parent the UI, the event system, and the player character. Not the general, the player character. And the level end under the game manager and make that into a prefab. And that might seem stupid, but it makes it so if I just make a new scene, you know, I have nothing, but if I grab that game manager and drag it in, I've got my UI, I've got my my character and my camera, and I have the level end. So I have basically everything I need to like start prototyping and building and stuff. So anyway, that's just a little thing to speed up development when I want to make more levels. I'm gonna take a little break to let my dog back in. Be right back. I'm back, but I'm gonna be off mic for a minute just so I can eat a snack while I'm working. Alright, so we got it so we're displaying a victory screen, but we're not giving time for the flag animation to play before we load that. So we're gonna do this is kind of not the best way to do it, but it's the fastest way to do it. We're gonna make a function called show victory screen, and we're just gonna move that in there. And in that win function, let's say invoke show victory screen, and we're gonna give it a delay of like 5 seconds. I am also going to add and turn on another camera, so we can kind of like see the flag rising. So if I have a Cinemachine virtual camera, I can just turn that on, and that will blend from the gameplay camera to the Cinemachine camera. That'll be a static camera that the player won't be able to move, so we can sort of do like a fake little cutscene. So we'll say victory camera dot enabled equals true. And so effectively what that's gonna do is let that reload. Underneath this level end flag prefab, I'll add a Cinemachine virtual camera. And you know, it currently takes over the main camera. And like, that's not the best position for it or anything, but it's fine for what I want now. So if I just turn that off, it goes back to the gameplay camera because its priority is 10, and when you turn it on, it takes over. If you do that while the game is running, it should blend from one camera to the other. Oh, thanks for hanging out. This has been fun. I'll probably be back streaming on Monday. But thanks for hanging out. Yeah, so it'll blend over to that camera when I enable that. So I'll just name it victory camera. And then in the game manager, we'll just reference that victory camera, and we'll turn it on when you reach the flag. Neat. So now we have more or less a full game loop. We can collect items, we can die, and we can win. And, you know, this is where we would play some different music, we would show some fireworks and tally up the scores and everything. But for now, just playing an animation and showing that screen is good enough. I'm running out of steam today, so I think I'm probably gonna call it here, and I will be back next week with more game dev on this silly little frog game. Thanks. We definitely made this is what, I guess 6 or 8 total hours of work start to finish on this little prototype, and we have a fully working game. It's not fun yet, but we certainly have a good start. So I'll hop on the camera and say bye to everyone. Give me a second. Hi. Thanks everyone for hanging out. This has been super fun. Yeah, I try to stream every weekday working on this game. I want to document the whole process start to finish for you. If you missed out and you want to keep up, I have VODs on YouTube. YouTube.com/@Grizzhoot will get you there. And if you're watching on the VOD and you want to see me live, I stream here on Twitch, twitch.tv/Grizzhoot. This has been great. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I look forward to seeing you again next week. Bye!